have a lot of people who are joining from global, and there are very senior people who are waiting to have a discussion. So I would like to bring in straight away the technology panel. We will have a quick panel discussion, and then we will move to startups again. So I would like to bring in Mr. Rajiv Batra.
Hi, good evening.
Yunus Karaoke, Amit Sachdeva, Aditya Chaudhary, Sachin Kapoor from LinkedIn. Yeah, so the first question for the panel is from Dr. Nicholas Crony. So all the entrepreneurs are excited to talk to the technology panel from different part of the world and from top big five companies. So Rajiv comes from background of Times Group, Aditya is from Accenture, and Sachin is from LinkedIn, Amit is from ENY, and Yunus comes from ICT Kenya. So Nicholas, your question to Rajiv, please.
Brilliant, thank you. I'm curious particularly about what sectors you're looking at in particular and where investors are looking in the market.
So currently, the landscape has all of a sudden changed, I would say. Now, apparently, in the new era which we are looking at, now it's more into healthcare, pharma, ed tech or education technologies that more is happening. Obviously, some bit is also happening in online entertainment. E-retailer is also a big area which investments are happening today. Yes, a lot of these tech companies or a tech telecoms, I would say, that's another area where we are seeing a lot of investment, specifically we are seeing currently happening, as you see, in Reliance Jio in India, a lot of investments happening at this point of time by a lot of Western large organizations. The data seems to be ruling, I said, in that domain. So these are the trends, I would say, happening right now in the investment phase.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
The next question is from Datin Majna to Sachin Kapoor and Samran Ghoshal.
Hi, okay, I'm from Malaysia, and I would like to ask, post-COVID, has the criteria for your investments changed at all as compared to pre-COVID?
Datik, thanks for asking that question, because I think the most asked question these days is what changes due to COVID, right? And this question is in every meeting or every virtual meeting that we have. I'm a big believer in fundamentals. And I don't think so, COVID or no COVID, that is kind of changing, right? The criteria to evaluate good investments seldom changes at the core. What changes is which are the areas you're looking at investment. So let me kind of talk about what doesn't change at all. The things that don't change at all fundamentally from a startup investment perspective criteria is having a strong team. The quality of the team matters, and it matters more right now than ever. The second thing is like, what is the team trying to solve, right? Means, is it really a big problem that they are after? The third one is ability to execute on their own vision. And more with respect to what their last round of funding was, and were they able to execute with that funding what they promised? This is a very, very important test, right? And especially in times of crisis. And when we look at, for example, the current pandemic and the COVID-19 situation, an investor would like their money to be well utilized. And teams that have utilized the money well in their previous round of fundings would carry a little bit of premium as compared to teams who had promised the moon, traveled a little bit of distance, but didn't kind of reach there. In my perspective, what's changing with respect to COVID is the new avenues that are coming up. Because from an investor perspective, what are the areas you want to invest in is changing. Like if we talk about primarily the tech world, the investments are moving towards solutions that we always thought would be in demand, but are accelerating from a demand perspective. Examples of those are, for example, online learning. If you look at the mid-market companies, fundamentally, mid-market companies were little behind when it came to tech adoption, right? They were more towards an instructor-led training or an ILT environment, but today it's like every organization needs to upskill their staff. What the world is kind of moving towards is moving from offline events towards virtual events. Any technology that makes consumerization of IT a reality, vis-a-vis remote working, for example. I will just say that the core or fundamental of your investing doesn't change in terms of evaluation. What changes is with respect to opportunities that COVID kind of sets up, which may accelerate in the short term certain businesses or certain specific sectors.
If you allow me, Mazna, I'll probably add a few pointers on top of what Sachin gave. The days of investment based on hype is over. So now it is coming back to fundamentals. So that is a part that there has to be focus on cash flow, focus on fundamentals and operating background. But there's another one which probably is interesting. We are evaluating quite a few of the organizations. One is there is a new normal way of operating, which is going to come up in every part of the business, right? Whether it is operations, whether it is B2C opportunities. There was a gentleman who was just now explaining about app which will tell the social distancing maintained and all that. So which fits into the new normal way of working is another opportunity which will be very interesting and all investors should look for. It can be a quick plug-in into the new way of operating. And it can be B2C, B2B, any type of areas. So these are the two areas where I think is fundamentally change after COVID.
Thank you.
So thank you, Datin. Now, Yunus, actually, I have Margarita from Ukraine. Actually, she is not able to join, but this question is for you, which is related to, again, Nicholas. She is asking investors, what are the sectors which you look for from Africa perspective? Which are the investments areas in the current situation which you want to elaborate?
Thank you for that question. It's a beautiful question. There are numerous investment opportunities in Africa for a number of reasons, but the motivating factors for any investment opportunity in Kenya and in Africa, I come from Kenya, so I have to start with home first, is to really transform lives, and more specifically through service delivery, and also to endeavor to eradicate poverty and in the more recent past, as previous speakers have said, to manage COVID. So a lot of the investment opportunities will be aligned with that kind of thinking, which represents most governments' development priorities. And those priorities are looking to use technology, leverage innovation to address, but first and foremost, 4 key areas. And the first one is manufacturing, with a view to leveraging manufacturing to assemble as many electronic devices that can aid optimization of digitally powered lifestyles in this new normal. And therefore, that's an area that I would encourage investors to look into. Manufacturing of electronics, manufacturing of devices, manufacturing of clothing, manufacturing of food products. That area is very exciting. The other area, again, is universal health. A lot of governments in Africa are looking to provide universal health, and as you will know, some areas are quite remote. And therefore, investors who have innovative ideas that can address marginalized populations and uplift their health and make them more productive members of the society, such investors will be receiving wide open hands by the government. We are being advised every day that we must boost our immunity. Now, to boost our immunity, we need sophistication in how we produce our food, whether it is packaged food, fresh food, and what have you. Nutrition is very important. It lends itself to health as well. It also represents an opportunity in the agriculture for food security. And then again, connected to that is housing. There is big need for housing and how we can deploy technology to fabricate and put up affordable houses across several parts of Africa, because when people are secure and they're living well, they're covered with good health, then they are able to be productive and they can also take care of themselves. I encourage investors in this area because if you look at how governments have been spending, and particularly our government, there is lots of money in every budget allocated to this area. And further motivated by very, very progressive monetary and fiscal policies to fund projects in this area. I wouldn't be done if I didn't say that Africa is really a hotbed of innovations. This is a term that was used on Kenya at some point, but it's also applicable to Africa as a whole. And we are looking at investors who can actually fire this innovation further through the education sector. So those investors interested in investing in education, technical and vocational training areas, ICT as a whole, film and animation, cyber security infrastructure, because every day we are living online right now, mobile business, specifically in the transaction space, web content, and that kind of thing. Those investors are most welcome. In Kenya, ICT has been contributing up to 16% annually to the GDP. This figure can be interpreted to represent what is happening in the rest of Africa. At the same time, there are other areas like renewable energy, stock markets. These areas are very interesting because a lot of the African continent requires energy, and especially renewable energy. And therefore, in summary, I would say, if an investor is looking to these areas and is looking to leverage ICT, that investor will be most welcome in our continent. But I would like to position Kenya as a place to start this because of our location, because of our extensive investment in infrastructure, because of our transport in particular being a hub. You hope to every part of the rest of Africa from here. And Kenya leads in terms of contribution to economies, not just in Kenya, but also in the rest of Eastern and Central Africa. I could say so much, but I'd rather stop here and invite any specific questions as time I know is of essence.
Thank you, Eunice, for being there online. So I would like to call Dr. Nilesh, your question to Aditya Chaudhary, Amit, and Sachin's view. So Dr. Nilesh, he's from IIM Ahmedabad. He is also a radiologist as well as IMA.
Thank you, Rahul and Fincasa Venture for this opportunity to interact with such experts from the field. My question specifically is related to option of investment. So what I want to ask in this particular scenario is, what makes an organization qualify for an investment? Which is more important when investor looks at a company or a third party looks at a company for an investment, which is either valuation or P&L? Which qualifies a company more?
It's a great question in terms of, especially during the times we are going through, but I look at it slightly differently. It's asking whether a telescope is more important or a microscope is more important. So if you really ask me, it again depends on the company and the sector. In some cases, you need both valuation as well as the profitability. And if I have to really look from the sectors I focus on, which is telecom, media, and technology. And in technology, especially if I look at technology services companies, probably you need both telescope and microscope. You need to look at what is the quality of the asset, what is the profitability. At the same time, you need to look at what kind of capabilities they have. Are they ready for the future? Do they have a platform which is digital, which is AI-based? So you need probably both. However, when you look at startups or mid-sized companies where you are looking at investing for future, there obviously what becomes more important is valuation. And one of the other examples, a recent example, if you look at Reliance Jio, which has probably got one of the largest funding over last 8 to 12 weeks, there I would say both the investors have looked at both through the microscope and the telescope. They could see that they have delivered over last 4 to 5 years, and they have got a vision which is very well aligned to the future from a digital perspective. So I would say, again, it depends on the situation. And in some cases, you need to look at both. So there is no straight answer or a one size fit kind of an answer. And I'll just at the end link it to what Sachin said. Fundamentals are always important, whatever the timings may be. Only the multiples change. During the current period, the multiples are at discount. During good times, the multiples are at a higher level. That's the only thing which changes.
I'll just add on there. So apart from that microscope and telescope, it also depends who's at the other end of the microscope or telescope. If somebody is doing seed funding, they would want to look at a P&L approach. A PE investor fund coming as Series B would want to look at valuation, but evaluation is again dependent on a strong P&L over a period of time with a good book to build. You've promised something, you've delivered, and you're moving on. So that's important. But if you're looking at a kind of an acquisition like most of our clients do, they want to acquire a startup, has a portion of technology which they want to use to bundle as a part of a service, then both these matter, but eventually they want to look at what is the asset coming with in terms of, either a patented or non-patented technology or a service which they can't build themselves. So while this is financial, it also depends on who is looking at the amount of the P&L or the valuation. So that's the other important piece. So depending on your buyer, if you're a seller, depending on your buyer, you will need to, demonstrate different things. It's like, holding a Rubik's Cube in your hand and, 3-4 views of it. And therefore you have to go and show the buyer what he wants to see depending on the buyer. That's very important.
Yeah, so strong +1 to what Amit and Aditya shared. I think fundamentally, the most important thing is what stage of funding are we looking at? That's the one thing. The second thing comes is what is the investment strategy of the investor? That's really important because investors don't have multiple investment strategies. They have a hypothesis in mind and they have tested that hypothesis out. They want to kind of repeat the same hypothesis for the kind of investments they are seeking. Sectors do play an important role. But beyond this, I generally have always felt that valuation doesn't matter that much overall in the scheme of things, whether it's a seed, Series A, or whether PE is kind of coming in and buying out a company, because a good investment is always cheap. And that rule kind of applies. It's about the timing and the risk appetite that you want to kind of get in as an investor. And that determines what are the kind of ratios are you looking at, right? What is the kind of top line and bottom line metrics are you looking at? It also kind of determines for early stage startups, what is the real unit economics like, right? What is the capital efficiency you have with respect to the cash that you have at hand, right? Where are you kind of investing the money that you have and plan to invest that money? These factors are really important. So it's like there's no straightforward answer to the microscope or telescope or really, the valuation piece or the P&L piece. It is clearly, as Aditya also said, like look at who the investor is and what has been the past investment philosophy. Like a lot of investors are very transparent today in terms of what their investment philosophy is. There are funds, for example, who focus only on those startups or businesses which are profit focused, right? And their valuations don't matter that much because at the end of the day, they're talking about scale right from the word go. Right. And there are hype-based companies which are on the hype chart themselves, where it is about creating a future market on the basis of disruption or disintermediating, right, the layers that are in between. At the end of the day, like if we talk about any of the recent organizations in the last 3 to 5 years that have really scaled up and grown big, the core thing that has happened is they have disintermediated layers in between so that the buyer and seller are coming together on the same platform, on the same marketplace. And they're driving greater efficiency, be it any kind of on-demand economy from cab hailing to sharing rooms to whatever we can kind of talk about. These are the factors that kind of matter. Valuation, I feel, is really the last end of it. You need to kind of believe in a lot more things as an investor. If you believe in all of these things, valuation will always be cheap.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Another question coming up with the startups is, what's your current feedback on investment trends during COVID-19?
Okay, let me take a shot on that. The trends are changing, as I said. Everybody has said the new normal or the abnormal situation that we are in. We have started calling it new normal. What we are observing right now, or the trends that are getting formed right now, may continue even after the pandemic gets over, whenever it gets over, because we never know what else may come up. Now that anxiety or that apprehension may always remain in the coming times. Yes, all investors will have to become much more cognizant of the fact that what held good in this current situation should also sustain afterwards too. And obviously situations where most of the essential items are getting much more and more pull for investment. We are getting more and more investment or a pull for investment towards pharma companies, healthcare at home. So it's about all distancing. So anything which is aiding even work from home, the work from remote. So the tech companies which are in that areas are getting good valuations, I would say, at this point of time. Anybody who is delivering to people quarantined or locked up in homes is getting a good valuation today. And anything which is even causing the health to be bad. We saw a bad liver cirrhosis presentation just a while ago, but I think a lot of beverages which are in the alcohol segment are also getting good valuation in current times. I don't know why, but they are getting good valuation at this current time. So a lot of things which are allowing do it yourself, helping people without the touch mode, software as a service, work from home aiding, obviously cloud and analytics which are aiding in current environment, what sales can be boosted through it. I think these are slowly and steadily becoming a trend. Investment in telcos is a completely different ball game, which we are seeing Facebooks and Google and all are doing with Jio today, and Mr. Ambani becoming one of the top 6 richest man in the world less than 15 days. So those are quite unique trends, but in a general trend, when we are looking at startups and that particular domain, these will be the areas I think which will be much more looked into by the investors, and could be innovations around these domains which become more relevant in a new normal sort of a world that we'll be looking into.
Very well said. I think, again, if I look at from a global perspective, it is very interesting times. I think most of the economists are kind of expecting a major depression, and they don't see the economies coming back to the same GDP level till 2022 or maybe 21, late 21. With that, I think one of the fundamental changes, and still there's a lot of traction in terms of cyclical businesses which have got technology as a fundamental. So technology is today a fundamental pretty much for all businesses. And the way I look at the digital transformation as kind of really is on the accelerated mode or a hyper acceleration mode pretty much across industries. But now within those industries, the way we are looking at the private equity funds, the investors, even the large companies, looking at companies as in two sets. One is uncyclical or cyclical industries. And unlike the previous financial crisis, this is a very different crisis. And the cyclical and uncyclical industries are also different in this. Although a lot of people are believing healthcare is going to be kind of something which is going to grow, but we are looking at healthcare from a more non-cyclical basis. Interestingly, there are a lot of other industries. For example, in terms of technology, if you look at, I think Rajiv spoke about companies which are enabling new normal, and also companies which are coming at a very cheap valuation in terms of which can accelerate getting people back to office, getting people back to travel, getting people back to airlines, getting people back to the restaurants. I think some of those companies are seeing some very attractive valuation. So I think that's an area of investment. And at least what we are advising most of the investors is to kind of say, okay, look at the sectors in the cyclical and non-cyclical trends over next 2 to 3 years. And it's very important to see which are the sectors which are going to see V versus U versus a W kind of a recovery, because everybody is talking in general, but I think it is more sector oriented also. So I think those are the 2 or 3 things which we are kind of observing when we look from an investment philosophy perspective. So there is no one size fit all kind of a philosophy, but yeah, one fundamental which is there is digital technologies and digital being adopted in a hyper accelerated mode. That's basically a common theme which we are seeing.
You explained it rightly, Amit. It seems like, if you want to look at pre-COVID and post-COVID, you have to look at just 3 dimensions. One is obviously geography and the markets. Second is the industry. And third is the timeline. Everybody thought when COVID hit us in March, at least in this part of the world, we thought it would be over by June, July. Now it appears this situation continues till December. Some economies which have opened up have closed down. So investment patterns for the first 6 months or 4 months were affected. So March, April, May, June seem to be affected. Now people have woken to the fact that this will continue. So the timeline of this problem will continue. And as Amit said, I mean, we are all theorizing now. Everybody is trying to analyze the different models on when will the economy start rising. Because of that uncertainty, and if you look at then the market and the industry, so whether you look at cyclical or not cyclical, as Amit said, or you look at markets which seem to be growing. So two markets still seem to be growing. Italy and Japan seem to be growing. So any investments, any startups which are catering to technologies in fintech, health tech, AI, analytics, anything to do with the digital turn, or seems to attract investors, which is either coming in from seed investors or from PE funds or from clients, which are high-tech companies wanting to add to their fund. And the other markets seem to have taken a sort of a measured position. The only exception, obviously, I will put out as an exception is Geo, because if you put Geo and you put all the other investments that are happening, maybe even in India or surrounding in Southeast Asia, it will, it's not a good statistical picture for analysis. Has the world changed? Yes, post-COVID, the investment pattern is changing. Investors are also holding on. The free flow of investment had stopped. Now, a bit of strategy change is in terms of if they're getting a better valuation on the dollar. So earlier, what was available as $2.5, if they're willing to pay a one and a half, the premiums have fallen in some areas, and this is the time they want to invest for the future. But believe me, it is very difficult for anybody to predict when the return of the economy will start. So some of these investments are being made as almost like, hedge bets. And when we are dealing with our clients, people that work with who are making such investments in startups, and when you ask them, what's your flaw? Why are you doing it? They come back, we think this will grow. So there is hope. I mean, all in all, with all the statistical and the financial analysis that we do, it's also being hopeful about the future and the expectation that the next 18 to 24 months, the world would have changed, it would be different. Economies would have started opening up again. I mean, if you're a seller, then you have to handle it very differently. If you're a buyer, investor, then the equations are very different. I mean, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya. On behalf of Fincasa, I would like to thank you, Rajiv, Yunus, Samiran, Sachin, and Amit.